Hey guys, Ken2 here. Welcome back. And today I'm excited to show you this brand new tumbler that my father and I have built. More my father built, I supplied the parts for, most of the parts. And I've tried to set up this video to be beginner friendly, to really, so that anyone who's trying to build a tumbler can have this video as a pretty good resource and a pretty good guideline of how much it would cost to do a homemade build and what it would take. You'll see in this project that we use steel to make the frame for the tumbler, but really without my dad's help I would have been using wood, and it can be done the same way, just obviously with wood you need to brace a little stronger. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you get a lot from it, and feel free to ask any questions down in the comments, and I will answer as much as I can. I'm not an expert by any means, but I'm always willing to share what I do know and help people as much as I can. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask down below in the comments. I will try to answer them to the best of my abilities, and for now, let's get into this video. Alright guys, so I'm here with my dad, who is Ken 1 of Ken Generations. Me being Ken 2, my son Ken 3, thusly the name Ken Generations. He has had more spare time than I have, and he has just whipped together this in one day, less than a day. How much time did you spend on it?
About 6 hours.
And then, let's see, we used a motor. Let's start there. We used a motor that we had laying around, luckily.
Yeah. Quarter hoist. Gear reduction motor.
And he painted the whole thing to make it pretty, but it turns at 65 RPM. So we just used a little. I got a cheapo belt, the more of a get it right now than make it good for the last belt. I wanted one that was convertible in length because we didn't know how long we were going to make this, so just changed to just reduce it a little bit with a little larger pulley here. And then what was the base steel?
The base is 1/4 inch plate.
1/4 inch plate, and then the upright is
1/4 inch by 2 inch flat stock.
And then of course he welded it all together, which is a skill I don't possess. So, and then all the pulleys and the bearings and everything are pretty much Amazon specials. I just went with. I got some decent bearings. Had some good reviews, but as far as the pulleys go, I mean, pulleys are pulleys. And then the shafts are just 1/2 inch by 36 inch cold rolled steel that you pick up at any regular hardware store. And then the belt, my dad spent some time at Tractor Supply today and got the belt for the end. And originally we had the idea, that's why we got the double pulleys, that we're going to chain one to the other, go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we found that
All 4 to 1.
Yep, when he put all 4 to 1, that it would run them all. So there was no reason to use the double pulley. But the nice thing about the double pulley now is that we can add another tier. We can go up a little bit. We can go out. We can go sideways. We can go any direction now without adding another pulley. We could just chain right to it and keep going. And the motor is powerful enough to keep going with it. And then when we decide we want to add in Frankenstein, and excuse the mess, we're in the middle of construction week here. I'm about to clean up on it. Was there anything else that I missed?
That's all we got.
That's all we got.
Pull blocks, 1/2 inch stock, and
Yep.
plate steel with head laying around.
Yep. And the pillow blocks are, just wedged together under the plate steel, and it made the proper distance. But now the only thing is to get all these barrels on there. Oh, I got another one over there. And get all those barrels on there and make sure it runs. All right, initial test run. It runs. It's running well. It's running at a steady rate. The only problem is, as you can see, it's moving incredibly slow. And something else that's really cool, before I shut it off, you can hear me better, is over here, I've chained Frankenstein into it. Hold on, let me get my fingers. For kicks and grins, I made a belt long enough to fit. I haven't secured this in any way, shape, or form. I just wanted to see if this would actually work. And lo and behold, the thing does work. It does turn another barrel. So you can chain, others into it. I just obviously ran off the double barrel, or the double pulley, and to the, just the pulleys. These are the pulleys that come with the Harbor Freight. And it does work. But now to get into the problem that comes with this system. Okay, now that you can hear me, I had a little bit of a problem, or my dad and I, when we designed it, I was told that the barrel to shaft ratio doesn't matter. And come to find out, it totally does. And if you already know that, then you might want to skip ahead to the timestamp I'm going to have somewhere right about there. But if this is new to you, or if you're thinking of building your own unit, then this is very helpful. So there are actually two sets of pulleys or minimum, in your tumbler build. You're going to have a pulley off of the motor. You're going to have what's called a driven pulley. And then, unbeknownst to me previously when I designed this system, but now I know from watching it turn at 5 RPM, is that the shaft to the barrel make another pulley system. Okay, here's where I get into the math of it. And what I just said about the pulleys is kind of like nothing new to you, then you might want to skip ahead. But if that was something that was informative, then you might want to stick around a little bit. And I'll try to diagram this as best as I can. What you have is your drive motor, or the pulley attached to your motor. And if you look up some basic, I'm trying to write through the camera, so forgive my handwriting is already bad, but so what you have is, the first pulley you have is going to be your motor pulley, and they're going to note that in the engineering equations as D1, N1. And then you have your second pulley, which is going to be typically larger, and that's going to be D2, N2. And that's going to have a belt between it, of course. And usually this is larger because most motors are probably going to spin at 1200 or so. In my case, in my setup, the final one, our speed was 65, and we really needed to increase the speed, so I went with a larger pulley to smaller, and there's all kinds of torque and everything else, equations and everything else that goes with that, and I'm not going to get into all that. But what kind of surprised me is the shaft is then attached to the barrel, and that shaft is actually another D1N1, and the barrel becomes a D2N2. So a 3-pound barrel is going to be 4.5 inches in diameter. And for my motor, the beginning D1N1, so D1 was, well, whatever I wanted it to be. N1 was going to be 65. And I knew the final outcome I wanted to be, diameter was 4.5. The shaft diameter was a 1/2 inch. Outcome I wanted to be about 50 RPM. And there are a lot of calculators on the internet, and there's even an app. And I ended up using an app, and you just entered the 3 numbers that you entered 3 out of the 4, and it would kick out another number. So by going backwards, I was able to go backwards on this. Start with a 50 RPM, 4.5 diameter, 0.5, and it would kick out, and it kicked out, let's see here, 398.12 that would be this speed here, and this is the RPM here. Sorry, out of the focus there. So that was the shaft here, and then this number plugs right into, it copies to the RPM of this pulley. So then the only thing that changes there, I got things a little messed up here, but I'll show you a sheet here in a second. But so got 65 on the outcome. I entered the new, this diameter didn't matter. I went with like a 2-inch pulley. Yep. I entered that 398.12. So now that's this pulley here, this diameter here, and that's going to determine the end. And then that's where it came out with I need a 12.25 inch diameter pulley over here. So that was quick and dirty, and forgive my handwriting, I'm not exactly a math teacher here, but I just ran through a couple little quick equations. I just punched in a bunch of different stuff when I was trying to figure out what size pulley I needed, and this is what we had originally designed. And before I realized that the pulley, or the shaft to the barrel, made a second pulley.
And we had a 2-inch pulley going to a 2.81-inch pulley from 65. That reduced it down to 46 RPM. And then obviously from 46, from a 1/2 inch to a 4.5, that reduced the speed down to 5.14, which is almost exactly what we had, because it was turning at 5 RPM, almost right to the dot, 5 RPM. So that was well within tolerance, I guess you could say. And then I looked up perfect equations for rock tumbling, and somebody had said you take 1200 and divide it by the circumference of the barrel. And of course the circumference is the diameter times 3.14. And that would give you the number. Well, I did that and it came out to approximately 80. And then I ran it backwards through the math to 65. And then we would end up needing a 16-inch pulley to a 1.5-inch pulley to even get close to 80 RPM for the tumbling speed, which sounded a bit ridiculous. And then I started looking up the real RPM. And let's see, where did I... Oh yeah, here it is, the Chicago Electric. So I looked up the Chicago Electric. Their motors spin at 3,200 RPM, and they go to a 3/4 inch pulley to a 3.5 inch pulley. Now that's the outside dimension of the pulleys, so there's a little tolerance there. And that reduces the speed down to 685 RPM, and it goes to a 8mm shaft, which is approximately 0.314 in diameter, inches, and then to a 4.5 inch pulley, or to a 4.5 inch drum, and the final RPM is 47.85, or right around 48. And then, oh yeah, this is if I chain it right to the system as it sits right now, what did I say here, 398, yeah, that's what my current RPM is on the shaft. Then 398 calculated all the way through it, and that Frankenstein will be turning at 15.87 RPM if I don't change this pulley. I just ran through a bunch of different equations, like if I put a 1-inch pulley on, or no pulley at all, if I just ran straight on the shaft, if I could have. I just wanted to see what the RPM would be if I just pulled it from the system, and would have come out to 29 RPM on the barrel. Yep, then the ideal, best. Yeah, best typically, from what I understood, is between, well, that's why we just explained the Chicago Electric. That's what I based the ideal off of. And then I just worked backwards, and that's when I realized I needed a 10-inch pulley to about a 1.5-inch pulley, and I couldn't find a 10-inch pulley, so I ended up going with a 12 and down to a 2, and that gave me 44.6. It's actually turning at 38 RPM at the moment, but I hope that helps with the math. I'm not a math teacher. I understand it. I am a coach, and it's kind of what my gifting is teaching. But I hope that helps you guys to understand how it works. Like I said, I just used the app, and I knew my motor speed, and I knew the diameter here, or I'd work it backwards. But you always just start with the 3 numbers, kick out the 4th, and just remember that your driven pulley and your shaft RPM are always going to be the same. And then that comes out, and then you got your shaft diameter, and your barrel diameter, so you're going to get your final RPM. And you just need to know your starting RPM, your goal RPM, and then you can figure out everything else individually. So I hope that helps. If not, just post in the description down below. Hopefully somebody else who is better at math or engineering can answer that for you. And then, yeah, let's get back into the video and show you how the build went. Alright, here it is, test run number 2. As you can see, it's turning much faster. I had to change the pulley size. That's a 12.25 now, and that's a 2-inch pulley, I believe. And as you can see, getting a much better RPM. I believe it's 38 now, if I count right. So not super ideal yet, but it's pretty good. I'm going to give it a week, see how it runs, but I'm going to call it a success. I can't imagine 38 is going to be awful. So 38 actually is the ideal spinning speed for a 12-pound tumbler. So we'll see how it does for these little 3-pound tumblers. Okay, and now for the final price breakdown on this thing. But before I get into that, if you guys have gotten anything out of this video, would you go ahead and hit that like button? I'm trying to make this video as complete and full as possible and to give all the information needed to build this on your own. And that will only reach people who are trying to build their own tumblers if you hit that like button. It lets YouTube know that the little algorithm kicks over and puts this in front of people's faces. And I'm really hoping this helps, because when I was looking to build this, I never really had I couldn't find any concise videos. I found a lot of people that would get so far and then they would just kind of keep something to themselves, or kind of call it proprietary info or something, I don't know, or they just didn't post anything complete. So yeah, just hit that like button and hopefully this gets in front of people's faces. But to begin the price breakdown, probably the single biggest expense in this whole thing is the pulleys themselves. So I had three, as you can see, the three double groove pulleys. Obviously not necessary in this system, but if you're looking to have a system that you can expand later, these are very valuable. Or like my dad said, you just put a coupling on the shaft and you can continue to extend this way, and then you just need more pillow blocks. But otherwise, you can just put these in. These pulleys were, let's see, the doubles were $14 each, and these were $12 each. So not a huge difference. Could save a few bucks though in this system. Plus, let's see over here. This pulley was probably the single most expensive of them all, and it's plastic to boot. All the pulleys, all the parts, I pretty much got from Amazon. I'm not a huge fan of Amazon, but they are professional, and the stuff you order gets there quick and on time. Well, typically. Typically. But this pulley was $56. So the total cost of all the pulleys in the system was $122. Then these shafts, they're just half-inch. They're 3 foot long, half-inch cold-rolled steel shafts that I picked up from a big box store. And they ran about $9 a piece. So you're looking at $38 in those. And then the second biggest expense was the pillow blocks here. And these, again, I picked up off of Amazon. They had a couple different brands, and yeah, there's a little snafu, so I ended up going with the second brand. The pillow blocks were, for a 4-pack, were $25-ish, $24, I believe. And obviously I have 8 pillow blocks in this system. Obviously you want 1 tier or 2 tiers, you can vary the price. But for a 4-pack, it was $24, for a total of $48. And then the other big expense was the belt. I bought this, I think they call it a power twist belt. So you can actually break it down into individual lengths, and you can make it any length you want. I didn't know exactly how much length I would need between the pulleys, etc. So I wanted something I could break down. This isn't the actual power twist brand. I believe, reading the reviews, there is an actual brand, and this is just kind of the Chinese knockoff. But it was very nice, very flexible. It let me design it and put the pulleys at any distance and the length I wanted. So that's what I went with. I got a 10-foot section of it, and that ran me $64. So not the best of purchases, because I still, obviously I only used, 3 feet, less than 3 feet of it here. I thought I was going to use it on the other end, but my dad went to a big box store and bought this belt, and of course he won't tell me how much he spent on it because he won't let me repay him. But so yeah, I mean, that 10-foot purchase, or the purchase of the 10-foot belt, would cover both ends easily. And then let's see, the final, and probably we were able to use a motor we had laying around. Actually, it had been around for so long that it had been forgotten about. But hold on, let me try to steady this for you. So that's what we got. It's not anything huge. It's not a monster. It is gear reduced, so it spins at exactly 65 RPM, as you've probably already heard. And this, my dad found a motor like this. I'm sorry for the shaky camera. I'm trying to do the handheld while I'm talking. My dad found a motor similar to this. Actually, it was a variable speed, gear reduced motor that would go down to 61 RPM. And he found it for 60 bucks on the internet. I don't know where, I don't know how, he just he just does his thing. And I've also seen motors, you know, you can do 3,200 RPM, but you just got to reduce it. Obviously, we've done the pulley math on that. So, the motors, yeah, you could run 60 bucks. You could start at 60 bucks and run it up to 200, $250 or whatever you want. As far as motors, how beastie you want it, horsepower, etc. It depends on how big a system you want. But this quarter is handling 10 barrels, 10 3-pound barrels, pretty good until we're able to, I want to make some out of PVC and just, yeah, go from there, see what I can get made. So the overall price on this thing, of course I've excluded the motor because we had it laying around. So between the belt, pulley, shafts, and the bars, it was $272 to make this. You know, give or take some change, but obviously, you throw a $60 motor in there, that's $332. So is it worth it to you? You know, at first, when I first started tumbling, throwing $332 at it didn't sound like that great of an idea. But now it's getting to the point where I just need that much tumbling capacity. And then, of course, I have the Harbor Freight remakes over there, and it turns into Frankenstein. I got 2 more candidates eventually, and I got this guy here, the Loretone, which probably will never... they're given the brand name, other than the bearings wearing out, the little bushings here wearing out, I probably won't need to replace it at all. But yeah, and then like I said, I'm going to gear reduce this thing or get the gears proper, and I'm going to turn that into my finish tumbler and attach it to this thing, so I always have a dedicated finish tumbler, and I can just throw the poly belt on there and I can pull that off and on easy enough. And oh, one more thing, obviously I have not done here so far, is I haven't put up the barrel guides on yet to keep the barrels from rubbing here at the end. So I haven't done anything to keep that from happening. And also, very obviously, I haven't put any guards up on the belts yet. Partially because I wanted to do this video first. And then the other thing too, I'm not in its final location. Don't have it in its final home. And I don't have any small children or pets that I'm really concerned about sticking their fingers. If that was the case, it'd be a whole different animal. This would be in the shed already and out of the way, and nobody would be getting their fingers in it. So those 2 things haven't been done yet. And then I also plan on putting this in a unheated shed. I'm going to have a lapidary shed video coming up here soon, and you guys can see that video if you hit the subscribe button. But I'm going to set this up so that the belt cover will hopefully exclude the motor, and then in the winter time I plan on including the motor in the whole system, so it actually keeps the barrels warm and will provide enough heat, you know, even on the coldest days, to at least keep the barrels from freezing, because moving water, as you know, has a much lower freezing point. And I'm hoping that with the motor in there, it'll never freeze. Michigan doesn't get too cold where I live. So there's a price breakdown on this, and you can decide if you like to build one or not from there.
Thanks for watching. I really loved making this video and working with my dad on this very closely. Obviously, he's Ken 1, I'm Ken 2, and you've seen my son in previous videos, Ken 3. And now you know why we're called Ken Generation. I have a lot more material coming out later, revolving around this tumbler and others, and just tumbling rocks in general, including I want to make some do-it-yourself barrels out of 4-inch PVC at first, because that's what my dad has laying around and is the cheapest solution for me. Yeah, hit that subscribe button if you want to keep up with that stuff, and then of course all the rocks coming out of these tumblers. I got regular Friday series that I've been trying to run for what came out of the tumbler. But if you made it this far and you've enjoyed it, go ahead and hit that like button. Like I said, it's not just for you and it's not to help me out, but it helps the next person find this video too. And hopefully this can help people to really find some solutions to building their own tumbler, and give them some options and let them know that, you know, this isn't all that difficult. If there's something I've missed, if I haven't included anything, ask questions in the comments down below, and if it becomes a common question, I'll just kind of turn the descriptions into a fact, or maybe I'll learn how to do a pinned comment. Or I'll even do a follow-up video if we need it. So yeah, hope you like this. I had a lot of fun, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.